Let us begin. Asiqale umthandazo. Baba wethu sephezulwini namanje ntambama siyaphinda siyakhuleka egameni lakho elingcwele. Sikubonga ukuba uNkulunkulu onomusa, onothando, nosinakekelayo, osibekela izinto ezinhle emhlabeni nasezweni osibizela kulo elisembusweni wakho ongenayo esikhona. Ngeke sihlupheke ne-network nayo i-internet ngoba you will always be there. So no phones, no other means of communicating ngayo ngaphandle kokuba size ebusweni bakho. Usibekele izinto ezinhle zodwa engakafika semqondweni wethu. Useke sibambelele sibhekele ithemba osinikeze lona ngoKristu noze angasishane. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Okay, sibuyekeza-ke incwadi kaDaniel. Angichaze kafushane. I will not be going through our notes page by page ngoba sesixoxe lento sayibuyekeza saphinde sayibuyekeza saphinde sayibuyekeza. All right, but I'll just talk it through so that bese siyidiscussa. Bengicele ukuthi ningiphe imibuzo yenu engahle kube ninayo as a result of that. God. Masiqhathanisa-ke uDaniel 7 simbuka uthi wengezela imininingwane eyanele noma emininganyana ngeke eyanele emininganyana kunoDaniel chapter 2. Ngokuba lapha kuma-notes akho nanoDaniel chapter 2 utshelwe nje uNebukadneza ukuthi hayi wena uyikhanda legolide emveni kwakho koqhamuka umbuso ozobe umncinyana kunowakho ungowesiliva. Emveni kwayo koqhamuka umbuso wethusi obe nawo umncinyana kunombuso wesiliva wesiliva. Emveni kombuso wethusi koqhamuka umbuso wensimbi oyobe unesidlova uqinile njengensimbi ndiyoqhamuka emveni kombuso wethusi. Mawubheka wonke lama-materials akhulunywa laphana ayehlela ngokwesimo grading. They go down instead of going up. Chapter 7 sesinikeza more details emaqondana nalo mbuso. More details omaqondana nalo mbuso nale mbuso yemini. Uveza-ke ama-details abakhona mawuqhathanisa ibhubesi nekhanda legolide. Uyatshelwa lapho ukuthi ibhubesi lanamaphiko amabili okhozi liqhamuka olwandle okanye olwandle noma emanzini amaningi. Latshelwa leli bhubesi ukuthi-ke sokumele-ke manje malime ngimilenze emibili njengomuntu. Lase selikhishwa inhliziyo yobulwane yebhubesi kwafakwa inhliziyo yomuntu. So that became the end of that kingdom. More details is speed amaphiko ngichazile lapha ukuthi kumele ukuthi-ke uma uzothatha isiprofethi noma abe yisiphi kumele uyazi kahle okhiye bakho besiprofethi ubabambe ngesandla noma ngezandla zombili at that time. Okay. Mawubheka umbuso wesibili, umbuso wesiliva, uhambisana nombuso webhele. More details abonakala kangconywana umbusweni webhele, kuyibhele ngoba lapha izandla nje ezimbili ezigoqiwe kuphela. Kanti ibhele number 1 sitshelwe ukuthi liphakamise ihlombe elilodwa. That means njengoba kuyisilwane esisodwa kuyibhele elilodwa waphakama elinye ihlombe, it means ingxenye ethile yayo yoba strong kunengxenye ethile yayo, okanye uyofika kuqala kunenye bese iyagcina enye. Number 2, leli bhele litshela ukuthi malihlabe lidle inyama eningi. So sekuqala ukuba khona-ke ukuqinaqina kombuso as a result of that, and already selimumethe izimbambo ezintathu emlonyeni wayo. So xoxa kakhudlonyana uma nibuza imibuzo ngalezi mbambo ezintathu ezisemlonyeni webhele. Sedlulele umbuso wethusi, umbuso weGreece. Lapha ubeke nje lo mbuso wethusi. Ama-details amaningi sesinikezwa wona-ke sewukuthi 1, sewumelwe yingwe. Ingwe ngokwayo siyazi ukuthi isilwane esigijimayo, ine-speed esikhulu kakhulu. That's number 1. Number 2, le ngwe isinamaphiko amane. Amaphiko ngokwesiprofetho amele isivinini noma ijubane noma ispeed ngokwawo. Now, inamaphiko amane, sesiyayibona le ngwe isinamakhanda amane. Lapha lo mbuso utshelwe nje ukuthi umbuso wethusi kuphela. Uyobe u-inferior kumbuso wesiliva, u-inferior kumbuso wegolide. But now, more details ezithi uzokwehlukana, ikhanda siyazi ukuthi kumele umbusi. That means kuyoba nababusi abane abakulo mbuso, isilwane, a beast, simele umbuso. Bese uthi ikhanda laso limele umbusi noma ubuholi walo mbuso. Then those are the details esizitholayo engithe ziba ngconywana kuDaniel 7 kunakuDaniel 2. Mase ubhekisisa laphana kuthiwe umbuso wesine, umbuso wensimbi. Satshelwa nje kwaphela lapho. And ama-details abazama ukusinikeza kuDaniel 2 laphana uthe lo mbuso umbuso wensimbi unobudlova phakathi nokuqina kwensimbi, ebese uya ngobabuthakathaka bazame ukuhlanganisa nenzalo yabantu, ubumba lihlangane nensimbi, kodwa ngeke bahlangane ngoba kakade ubumba lungahlangani nensimbi. Those are the details ezikaDaniel 2. KuDaniel 7 sokuthiwa yisilo sesine. Lesilo sesine akasibizanga ngegama uDaniel ngoba simxakile. Mawubheka on this side ku-page 5 wamanotes akho, la sengikhona mina. Lesi silo sesine i-artist laphayana isidwebe njenge umzimba waso uba yingwe, ikhanda kube yibhubesi, ebese ukuthi idladla kube yibhele, as you can see there. Ebese leli bhubesi nalo liphinde licakwe lengwe bhubesi bhele, licake ngoba sineyimpondo eziyishumi, futhi kuphondo ngalunye manibheka lapho kukhona imiqhele, kunomqhele ebayishumi. Now, it means umqhele umele authority. So each horn esekhanda, uphondo kanye nekhanda kusho into efanayo, kusho ababusi. So there will be 10 of these, and bonke bazobe bene-authority. Aphinde-ke bese sinikeza better, much more better details than uDaniel 2. In that, ube sethi lezi impondo eziyishumi ubhekile uDaniel, wabheka wabona sekusiphuka iy'mpondo ezintathu. esikhundleni salezi mpondo ezintathu kwase kuhluma uphondo olunye olubonakale luqale luluncane lwase lwaqafa. Wayibheka seliqavile lolu phondo obeluqale luluncane lwase luba namehlo lwaba nomlomo njengomlomo womuntu lwase lukhuluma izindaba ezinkulu. So-ke sizibheke lezi zindaba ezinkulu ukuthi zindaba zini lezi kuthiwa zinkulu. Okay. Bengibuze umbuzo laphana othi why God uses animals now instead of the metals. Angeke ukwazi ukuwuphendula ngoba awusiyena uNkulunkulu. He chose to use animals. But ngizamile nje ukuthi ngibheke lapha nalaphana umfundisi uBall uthi yena hayi ngoba lezi zilwane ziyaphila zona. So lembuso izobe iqavathekile bese ke lembuso lena iba nobuhlukanyana nobuhlungu phakathi wazibona ukuthi izilwane oqala they are protective of their environment. So lezi zilwane they will be protective of their kingdoms. Zisayiprotecta kanjalo umbuso wayo kodwa uzokwedlula omunye uye komunye nakomunye ngoba zobe zehlulwa lezi zilwane ngokuya njalo. So siyibuka kahle further details azobe nikezwa maqondana nesilo sesithathu nesilo sesine. So besinikezwa more details ku-chapter 8 up to 10 naku-chapter 11 and 12. So bese sikhuluma more about the fourth beast nempondo zaso and things like that. So uzibona zikuphi lezi zilwane uDaniel na? Uzibona zisemfuleni Euphrates. Euphrates ke iyaboluleka esiprofetweni. And sikhumbule mokubheka amavidiyo amaningi ku-internet njengamanje ku-YouTube and anywhere where you can search them. Bazobe betshela ukuthi nasi isimanga i-Euphrates isiyasha ishodelwa ngamanzi. Kanti lokhu kuyahambisana nesiprofeto sithi uzokoma umfula i-Euphrates ukulungiselela amakhosi asempumalanga azobe ebuthanela empini yokugcina Armageddon, empini yokugcina against God. Ake siqale-ke now ke sigxile kakhudlanyana-ke manje kusilwane ngasinye. Umbuso lona weBabylon abanye bathi uqale ngo-605 wayophela ngo-539 before Christ, BCE. Okanye masithi BCE sisho ukuthi before common era or common era, I mean before common era. Bengithe laphana ku page 2, page 3 I mean, okay. Uma ku-553 page 3 uqala lo mbuso uwa ngo-539 BC. That means kube nesikhathi esingangeminyaka ewu-14 yonke saba khona lesi siprofeto kodwa singakafezeki. That is how far advanced God is. Ukutshela into isekude ukuthi yenzeke. Akutshela wena namhlanje uyakulungiselela ukuthi zilungiselele ngoba nakho ukukhulu kuyeza kuyanyelela. Isikhathi esiningi-ke asize singakunaka lokho akushoyo uNkulunkulu, sisinaka thina kuphela. Angiqhubeke-ke qaphela-ke ibhubesi leli manje elimele umbuso, not umbusi, but umbuso wesine. Asingasho ukuthi ibhubesi lalimele uNebukadnezari. Wayengamelwe yibhubesi, wayemelwe yikhanda lebhubesi. Ibhubesi lalimele umbuso, Babylonian kingdom, not uNebuchadnezzar. Umbuso kaNebuchadnezzar, akusiyena uNebuchadnezzar. Cacise lokho, abantu abaningi bajayele ukwenza lelo phutha. Mawubheka lapha kuJeremiah 27 verse 6, uthe uNkulunkulu izizwe zonke zomhlaba uyozinikela zibe ngaphansi kombuso kaNebuchadnezzar. Prophethiwe lokho. So umbize ngenceku yakhe uNebuchadnezzar uNkulunkulu. Yize lo Nebuchadnezzar at that time wayengamazi uNkulunkulu, wayengakholwa kuNkulunkulu wezulu nomhlaba. But you have read lapho lo Nebuchadnezzar khona esebabaza uNkulunkulu wezulu. Ingakho uNkulunkulu before aze aphenduke bebize ngenceku yakhe. Chosen before. uJeremiah uyakonfirma lokhu ukuthi uBabylon yayimelwe ibhubesi chapter 4 verse 7 na chapter 50 verse 17. Amabhiko sengiwachazile amaphiko ukuthi amele isivinini noma ijubane. So ngizokwedlula lapho. Plucking of the wings, lesikhathi esehluthwa amaphiko alo leli bhubesi. Now that means seliphelelwa isivinini sawo lombuso. Ukhumbula ukuthi lesikhathi sokufika amaMidi namaPeresi uDarius esengena, iBabylon ayiphakamisana nomkhonto owodwa. That means sehluthwe amaphiko, yase imiswa ngezinyawo ezimbili njengomuntu, kwakhishwa inhliziyo yebhubesi kuyo, kwafakwa inhliziyo yomuntu at that time. Right? Nanto uzobona ukuthi selimiswe ku page 7 ngezinyawo ezimbili njengomuntu, kwasekhishwa inhliziyo yebhubesi yobulwane, kwafakwa inhliziyo yomuntu. And lokho kuchaza ukuthini na kumele i-cowardice okanye ubuvakake now no longer clearly the king of the jungle, but now to the human. Abantu thina sesaba abantu besaba ngisho impukane imbala ngoba abantu bayisaba. So le cowardice sesiyibona kuKing Belshazzar lesikhathi wephuca umbuso wakhe ongakwazanga nokuthi azaphakamise umkhonto nje owodwa ongenayo. Just gave up the kingdom just like that. So more than anything, please note the use of the passive verb in this verse. 18, the wings were torn off. It was lifted up. It was given. Passive voice esetshenziswe lapho. Ibalulekile mawuyiqaphelisise ngoba clearly that demonstrates that God is above the affairs of men and is ruling and is controlling them. We are sure lento before yenzeke, and yet we sure as though useyenzile. Yes, amphele lapho. He is the ruler of the universe. Omelwe yibhele. Nanti ayibhele uyalibona iphuma nale manzini. Uyalibona ukuthi leliya hlombe la left or la right kulona. Lela hlombe la right liphakeme kunalela hlombe la left. Njengoba sitshilo ukuthi umbuso owodwa wonke loyana, kodwa kufika lo yaqala and bakufike lo yomunye qala. All right? Litshelwe ukuthi it must get up and eat as much flesh. Daniel chapter 7 verse 5. izimbambo ezintathu ezisemlonyeni webhele imizimba yomuntu leyana. Ama-ribs are the strength of the skeletal system. So these ribs were the strength of the devoured kingdom. So amakhosi amathathu lawaya noma umbuso wesithathu osushwabadele waqothula kumele zimbambo ezintathu. Ukuqina kwale mbuso konke sekuthathwe yibhele, ngoba imbambo siyazibona izona ezivikela those delicate parts of the human body njengenhliziyo namaphaphu, kuvikelwe zimbambo. So that is the strength of the human skeletal system. And so lithathile ke leya strength yesiba strength. Notice again that this animal is told to get up and eat. So the question then is, who is giving this animal the instruction, a vote to go and do whatever as it has been told? It's not told to do as it pleases, but it is told, itshelwe ukuthi ayenzeni, ayitshelwa ukuthi yenza umathanda wakho. Therefore, wawona lo mbuso under the control of the God of the universe. Mbuso verse 6 khuluma ngombuso wesine. Nansiya ingwe siyayibona, leyangwe ixakile ngoba inamakhanda amane nempiko zi-1, 2, 3, 4 zokhozi. Sesiyazazi ukuthi impiko zichaza ukuthini. Umbuso weGreece lwana okade umelwe umbuso wani weBras kuDaniel chapter 2. Esiqaphelayo yini ukuthi uthi lo mbuso uvele umelwe yingwe enesivinini esiphezulu, uphinde futhi unikezwe izimpiko, amaphiko azaphindwe kane. That means isivinini sesiphindwe saphindwa at this time. And sesichazile ke lokho ku verse 4 sidlula. Umlando mawubheka ke ezomlando zitshela ukuthi Alexander the Great indlela anqoba ngayo umbuso wama-Mede namaPeresi wedlula futhi akazema wayoshona endaweni esendini. Ekwenza lokho ngeminyaka nje engaphansi kweminyaka emithathu. Lento uNebukadnezari ehlulekile ukuyenza eminyakeni ewu-13 izamana ukuze afinyelele eThire nje kuphela, uthathe 13 years. Lona wedlule kuThire in 3 years, isivinini sasiphindwe kaningi lapho. Note again ukuthi ibhubesi kanye nengwe bezinamaphiko zombili, kodwa ingwe lena yona isibe nesivinini esikhulu kunobhubesi ngoba kuthathe only 8 months ukuba anqobe iThire. Le Thire eyathatha iBabylon u-13 years ukuze inqobe. 13 years no 8 months, that's too much of a speed. Qaphela ukuthi inamakhanda amane, nanga amakhanda amanye sengikhulumele ngawo ukuthi amele ababusi. So sengedlula-ke leyo ndawanyana-ke. And silo verse 7 silo sesine lesi esingachazwanga. Baningi kabantu ama-artists asidweba ngendlela yawo and asikwazi ukwaphikisa ngoba akasinikezanga igama nokuthi sasinjani lesilo uDaniel. Uthe njena sasesabeka sineyimpondo eziyishumi sinamazinyo ensimbi nezidladla zensimbi and sasidla sifohloza sinyathele nangeenyawo okusalayo. Qaphela u-Edward Gibbon uthi yena kule ncwadi ethi A History of the Decline of the Roman Empire, volume 4 wakhona, page 161, uthi this monarchy came to be known as the Iron Monarchy, the Kingdom of Rome, Iron Monarchy. Esiqaphela ukuthi-ke there are some similarities that identify it with the iron of Daniel chapter 2. Kukhona lokho okufananayo ngoba imilenze nezinyawo bekuyinsimbi ku Daniel chapter 2. Now lesi silwane sesinamazinyo ensimbi, iron teeth, imilenze yensimbi, amazinyo ensimbi, and siqine sinamandla okwensimbi, strength of an iron, meaning very, very powerful. So those are similarities between chapter 2 details and chapter 7. Okungukuthi sisakhuluma ngombuso owodwa ayehlukene mbili ayithathu. Again, lo mbuso iwona owasungula uhlobo lokubulala abantu ngesihluku kancane kancane, angaphuthumi ukuthi sheshe libulale, lwasungula isiphambano. Esiphambanweni umuntu wayebethelelwa khona, ikhona engazosheshe afe. Kwamele kumthatha isikhathi akuzwe ubuhlungu bemjunju aze afe ekugcineni. So that is the isihluku, the ironness of this kingdom. So let's note futhi ukuthi now there is a shift in identifying the limbs. Asatshelwa manje ngezitho ezithile zomzimba, njengebhele, kuthiwa ibhele liphakamise uhlangothi lwangancane. Satshelwa ukuthi ingwe inamakhanda asatsheliwe ama-limbs as of now. Now, masiqhubeka nayo, amakhanda, heads, have been introduced as a division in the third beast. Khumbula ukuthi leyangwe ebinamakhanda amane embusweni wesithathu, and lamakhanda sitshele ukuthi izohlukana ibe nababusi, umbuso owodwa kodwa ozokwehlukana izingxenyanyana ube nababusi abane. That means a division that way. Nalana-ke lesi silo njengoba-ke sitshele nasingana ngalezi impondo eziyishumi, that is a division that has been introduced as the heads there. Now it's introduced as the horns, njengezimpondo zalo mbuso. Yabona kuseyisilo esisodwa, kuseyibeast eyodwa kodwa esinezimpondo eziwu-10. Uphondo nekhanda yinto enjani? Ezifana nayo. Siqhubeke. So umprofethi lana uyaspecify ukuthi na kunomehluko omkhulu kulo lesilo samanje. So besides several horns, it was different from all former beasts. Now get that one. Akathi njena lesilo besehlukile ngoba sineyimpondo eziyishumi, kodwa uqale wathi sona nje ukubukeka kwaso besehlukile kwizilo zonke azibone ngaphambili. More than that, ebese siba nezimpondo eziyishumi. I'm sure we are getting that one. Now, uma sesifika ku chapter 8, boqaphelisisa ukuthi ke lo mbuso uqale kusiyehluka ngempela yona eqaleni indlela ongena ngayo ungena esinyelela ungeni njenge-conquest like all other kingdoms. We get that on Daniel 8. Ngizama ukuveza manje ukuthi umprofeti ubechaza ukuthini bayithi lesi silo sehlukile kunezilo zonke ezinye ezingaphambi kwazo. More than that, a historian identifies 10 horns on this beast as the kings of these nationalities. Now, in this one kingdom, kulombuso owodwa kunezizwe ezahlukene ethi historian izizwe eziyishumi. Now, zobona kwazona lezi zizwe ziyena 10 ziningi kakhulu. So inombolo nje lena emela ubuningi bezizwe. So kubona lokho as we continue. Uma ey'bala-ke lezi zizwe-ke eziyishumi, historian ithi ama-Lombards, ama-Franks, ama-Burgundians, ama-Ostrogoths, ama-Visigoths, ama-Vandals, ama-Heruli, nama-Suevi, ama-Huns, nama-Saxons. Saxons ama-English. Angizongena kakhulu lapho, bengedlula nje ukuthi ukwazi. Nansi yana-ke imap sengileze yona lapha on the left. Uzwabona-ke amaningi ama-Bavarians, ama-Thuringians, ama-Burgundians, ama-Franks, ama-Suevi, ama-Lombards, ama-Goths, ama-Visigoths, ama-Danes, ama-Jutes, nama-Islanders, ama-Swedes. Uyabona ukuthi izizwe esizijwayele leziyana njengokuthi njena ama-Saxons ngikutshele ukuthi ama-England leyo ama-Danes umele Denmark, ama-Norwegians ama-Norways noma ama-Normans, and ama-Islanders Iceland leyo, ama-Swedes Sweden leyo, ama-Goths ahlukene kabili khona ama-Visigoths kanye nama-Ostrogoths. Ama-Visigoths i-Spain kanti ama-Ostrogoths ama-Romanians ahambisana nani nama-Assyrians nama-Vandals seyinto eyodwa leyo. And then I mean zihlobene ama-Lombards and ama-Germanians wonke lawo ama-Francia okanye ama-Accidentalis, ama-Francia, Media, Francia, whatever, bonke ama-French lawo, Italy, Lorraine, German, kuqhubeke bevezela nje ukuthi lezi zizwe yabona sezingaphezu kwa-10. Yingakho bengithe u-10 laphana usuba isibalo esisho ubuningi nje, not necessarily ukuthi kumele zibe u-10 in number. No other nation besides that. Ukhumbule zazimele umhlaba wonke, so nabapedi nabaZulu whatever namaXhosa, they were represented in that God had allowed this kingdom to exist on the earth, so they were ruling the entire world. That is why ngempi yokuqala yomhlaba it involved even amaZulu alwa impela engahlangene nayo, because they were under a kingdom. Okay, okunye ngibalile laphana ukuthi ungabe usuyabona ukuthi sekunomehluko nawo, sokungene lento okuthiwa i-democracy, sokungene i-democracy na. Yingakho-ke sokuzwa ngentando yeningi, democracy. Lapha uJerome commentary on Daniel uthi yena, moreover the fourth kingdom, which plainly pertains to the Romans, is the iron which breaks in pieces and subdues all things, but its feet and toes are partly of iron and partly of clay, which at this time, note that Jerome was living when this was happening at the time. So, what at this time is most plainly attested. For just as its beginning, nothing was stronger and more unyielding than the Roman Empire, so that at the end of its affairs, nothing is weaker than the same Roman Empire. I said to go verse 7 now. I've taken too much time. Ngifuna ukuthi ngithathe enough time lapha na from verse 9 to 14. Angizospend isikhathi esikhulu lapho verse 12 ngoba you can even cut that verse out of the Bible. It won't hurt anyway. Now we're looking at this fourth kingdom. So isikhathi salola phondo oluncane sengikuvezele laphana on the left of your screen. Nanti uphondo and so luhlume lona lwase kuyaqava luqale luluncane lwase luba nesiqu lwaqava lona kunezinye lwase luba nomlomo umlomokazi walo lwase luba namehlo njengomuntu asitshelwanga ngamakhala eBhayibhelini but i-artist bese ifaka namakhala laphana yes into engayifakanga ngoba ingekho futhi eBhayibhelini indlebe awuzwa uphondo oluncane lo indlebe azikho ingakho lungezwa nje. And then lolu phondo oluncane verse 11 is identifying and is distinguishing the marks of this little horn. Kanja na. One, the little horn. This little horn arises from the fourth beast. Aqhamuki noma yikuphi, luqhamuka kwisilo sesine. Two, lolu phondo oluncane luhluma phakathi kwezimpondo eziyishumi, lusiphule eyintathu. 10 minus 3 equals 7. Esikhundleni salezi impondo ezintathu bese kuhluma lona lodwa seliyaqala sezingaki impondo seziwu-8. This must mean that the little horn was to rise to the power sometime after 476 AD. Verse 24, Lord. Number 4, lolu phondo oluncane, this little horn, was to pluck up 3 of the first 10 horns by its roots. This means that these three nations or nationalities would be uprooted from history. Yeah, that is debatable, but that is what this historian is saying. Number 5, this little horn was to speak great words against the Most High. Who is the Most High? That is God the Father. Akwanele ukuthi uthi it is God kuphela. Kumele ucacise kahle ukuthi now the person oyena ohlanjalazwayo la is God the Father, and his kingdom is being scandalized here. Revelation 13 verse 5 explain what these esichazela ukuthi imaphi lamagama amakhulu akhulunywayo, uthi amagama enhlamba, blasphemy. Siqhubeke nayo page 14. This little horn was to be a persecuting power. Umshushisi lo, umhlukumezi lona kabani wabantu bakaNkulunkulu, wabantu abangcwele, umhlukumezi wabo. This is stated in Daniel 7 verse 21. So, ngeke ke sahlupheka masifika lo mavesi ngoba sesikhulume ngawo already here. So this little horn would think to change the time and times and the laws. The times, that is to say, God's timetable of prophetic events. This little horn again would even have the audacity to think that it could change God's immutable laws. Verse 25. What is that? And this little horn again would be different in that the 10 horns, it would be an amalgamation of church and state, whereas the 10 horns were not an amalgamation of church and state as such. This power, is given to rule for a period of time of 42 months or 1,260 days. Remember, a day in prophecy represents a year, so that would be 1,260 years. That's a long time for any kingdom to sustain, to survive. And kumbula, this kingdom yesine awukho omunye ozofika ngaphandle kombuso wethe, kombuso esotshela uverse 9 ukuthi ubusuyahlwithwa lo mbuso walo lolu phondo ncane usunikezwa abangcwele bakaNkulunkulu. So the little horn had eyes like a man. Unamehlo njengomuntu. Kwisiphrofethi kuseBhayibheli amehlo awuluphawu lokuhlakanipha. Mawufunda amaSefesu 1 verse 18 or Revelation 5 verse 6. So even today, an owl is a symbol of wisdom because of its large eyes. In other words, this power was to depend on human wisdom. Namehlo omuntu. Human wisdom. Verse 9 and 10 says, "Fige kaya, benjahelana kadat." Benjahelana kadat. Almost all Bible commentaries agree that the little horn is the religious system of the fourth kingdom. Almost all of them. Ngaphandle kwalawo-ke adle indumba ongazi ukuthi ayifunde kuphi, angena-system ayilandelayo, lawo-ke siyawaxolela lawo-ke lamaBhayibheli. All right. It is important to note that the sooner this little horn started to speak boastfully, judgment set or began to sit in heaven. Laqala lakhuluma lamagama alenhlamba, hayi yahlala ukwahlulela kuyahlala ezulwini at the same time. Sifundile phela lapha kuDaniel 4 verse 30 la ethi khona, the sooner the king Nebuchadnezzar spoke boastfully, he met his judgment right there and there. Now, the difference in this case is that the judgment was temporal esikhathini sika Nebuchadnezzar. It was a temporal judgment. But this one is a permanent judgment in that awuhlwithwanga umbuso kuNebuchadnezzar. Wanikezwa wona, wahlala nawo umbuso wakhe for 7 years. Emveni walokho wabuyisela. But in the case of this horn, umbuso uyathathwa kulo. bese usunikezwa abangcwele bakaNkulunkulu. And bona-ke ababe besawusherisha namuntu omunye inkunaphakade. So ingakho sesithi-ke umbuso walolu phondo it was permanent when it was removed from it. Permanence. So after the short description of the Ancient of Days, his throne room, then the prophet says, the court was seated and the books were opened. Qala ngichaza omdala weyinsuku, not ngoba kuyi-favorite yami, but it's important. Daniel 7 verse 9 uthi, as I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. Yambona senimvezile laphayana on your left hand side. Senimvezile. He has taken his seat. And siyachazwa-ke kuthiwa laphana, his clothing was as white as snow, and the hair of his head was white like wool. You can't see that. Nobody, artists could not draw that, and I think he is correct. He was not permitted to do that. So his throne was flaming fire, flaming with fire. Akayivezanga-ke as flaming with fire lapha, ya. Uhleze emlilweni. Bese uzongishisa-ke wena, hayi umlilo isihlalo sikababa leso. And then a river of fire was flowing, coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands attended him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. I like this one. I like it the most. I like this one the most. So the moment usuhlezi, so lapha ngenzasi emhlabeni kwenzani, lubhidlangile uphondo, lubhidlangile uphondo oluncane, lukhuluma wonke amagama enhlamba ongasiwacabangi against the one seated on the throne, obuso bakhe balekelwa izulu nomhlaba. Lona ogama lakhe wongcwele. Sifundile ngaye last week. Ngiyabona sasuku singizane namanje sakhuluma ngayo. Then the prophet said, I continued to watch. Watching what? The horn was speaking. That's what the prophet was watching. Excuse me. Yes. One cannot help but to notice the tense here. Ute, I continued, that is in the past tense. So, I continued, that is a past continuous time. That gives an indication that this judgment sat for as long as the horn was speaking, not once off. I continued to watch as the horn was speaking. There's a judgment in heaven. The horn is speaking below there. That is consistent with Malachi 3 verse 16. That used to be our signature verse. I don't know what happened to it. 14, Malachi 3 verse 16. Let me read it to you again. 14. Then those who feared the Lord talked with each other, and the Lord listened and heard. A scroll of remembrance was written in his presence concerning those who feared the Lord and thought on his name. When you look on page 15, there is a book of life. There are the books and other books. Scrolls are there before him. So when we are talking as we are talking now, a book of life, a book of remembrance is opened, and the angel is recording with precision. He's recording even the intentions of my mind, things that I did not tell you, I ought to have told you. They are taken as though I told you them. I said to them, Besida. So the prophet says he kept looking until the beast was slain. Get this one. The horn, where is the horn? It is on the head of the beast. All right? And the horn is busy speaking and talking blasphemy against my God. Yakakamela. And the prophet kept on looking. He concentrated, like I'm concentrating now, on the beast and on the horn. And he says, what he saw there made him, he kept on looking until the beast was slain. Thus confirming to us that the little horn belongs to the fourth beast, and that is the fourth and the last kingdom before the stone kingdom takes over. He tells us the ultimate end of the beast, that is the hell fire. Okay, so usabuyile kwalo mzuzwanyana, simbonge uNkulunkulu wethu. Bengishilo to verse 12, akekho important kangako. Noma ngamkhipha nje laphana, it doesn't matter. Why? We see this in two ways. Other versions put it in italics, others they put it in brackets, like in the NIV, put it in brackets. So the time in this verse should not bother us, as it is not part of the prophecy. In the Bible here, it's not about the other kingdoms, what were happening in war. Ngoba sisembusweni wesingaphandle wesine. So into ebalulekile is this beast yesine and the little horn. Nakumthe noma becelele lokhu ngene ngefastela. Verse 13, the Son of Man. This one is very, very important again, even though in Kata, nabazalwane bami abakholelwa kule zinkolelo zabo-ke ezahlukahlukeneyo eziphambana neBhayibheli. Angeke ngiyeke-ke mina ukukhuluma le nto ebhalwe eBhayibhelini nothatha le nto eshiwo abantu. No, I will never do that. You can rest assured on that one. Okay, verse 13. Note that this is the only, I said this is the only part of the Old Testament that gives reference to the Son of Man as we know him in the New Testament. Only one. Are you getting? The record of Matthew 26 verse 54 agrees with these verses. Uthini uMatthew 26 verse 64 ukhuluma the Son of Man. Uthi, yes, it is as you say, Jesus replied, but I say to all of you, in future you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. So, you can be sure now we were correct, Uma City. This is the only verse in the Old Testament that talks about the Son of Man as in Jesus. Now, what is happening here? One needs to go back to the thrones that were set because the Son of Man is seen doing what? Is seen approaching the throne room, and he is being introduced to the one seated on the throne. Let's read Daniel 7, verse 13. In my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with clouds of heaven, just like he said in Matthew 26. Is coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. Praise God. I like this one. As he approaches what? He approaches the throne room, and seated on the throne, remember, the court, the judgment is in session as it comes. So he interrupts the judgment. He interrupts the court session as he approaches. He must have the authority to approach the judge as he's seated on his throne executing judgment. Who can do that except the attorney, the advocate? So this must be the advocate, my advocate. Yes, he's approaching and he's being led in. Now he is an advocate. I love this one. I so love it. Let's pray. Let's pray. Dear loving Father, how I wish to be there and be part of that coronation. When your Son receives the authority, receives the kingdom and the powers, and he says, "Come, ye blessed of my Father, come inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the beginning of the earth." Amen. We have been told that the Son of Man was led into his presence. And it should be remembered that while on earth, Jesus said he came to do the will of him who sent him, in John 6, verse 38. But it does not look like this is the second coming of Jesus. No, he came with clouds of heaven. Coming where? In heaven. So don't say this is the second coming of Jesus coming to this earth. No. Because he is from somewhere and is coming into heaven and is coming with clouds. In Acts 1, verse 11, who was there? You know it. No, man. You know it. That whilst he was speaking to them, the cloud, he was lifted up and the cloud received him, and he was madoda asegalile nimene niniqolozele ezulwini ngoba lo Jesu osuswe kini uyakubuya kanje ngoba nimbone eya kuphi ezulwini. So he went with a cloud to heaven and is coming back with a cloud. But now asikhambe sekubuyeni kwakhe sisekufikeni kwakhe ezulwini, as he's being led into the presence of the Ancient of Days. So Acts chapter 1 verses 9 and 11, verse 10, I've showed you on the left hand side the Son of Man and the Ancient, as he comes with this cloud and he's being led into the presence of the Ancient of Days, and he approaches. He has got authority. We learn that the cloud that came to receive him were the angels. One of them assured the disciples of his return. It then stands to reason that Daniel, the prophet, was shown this coronation after the ascension of Jesus. On the right-hand side on page 20, slide number 20, you see there's the Ancient of Days there. I can point him at him. Let me use these things, laser pointer. There is the Ancient of Days here. He's seated here. There is the Son of Man. There is the cloud he's coming with. And there are the angels. And there are the elders that are bowing there. And listen, the Father is extending his right scepter onto the Son. Yes, this is the coronation. This verse confirms our assertion that this was the time of Jesus' coronation. This verse again confirms the stone kingdom as belonging to Christ, my Christ, and his God, his Father, as in Daniel 2 verse 44. More than that, this verse dispels the Trinity heresy as a doctrine of the beast and its little horn. This false doctrine teaches that Christ and his Father are equal, when Christ says plainly that his Father is greater than he in John 14 verse 28. So it is noted that only after the fourth beast and its little horn, its activities, its cruelty towards God's people, was he confused. The prophet was confused. In this vision, the prophet wasn't alone, for he approached someone who was there with him on verse number 16. This person, the prophet believed, could have answers to his concerns or troubles. Hence, he decided to approach. But what happened? You see, in verses 17 and 18, these verses show a human weakness in not addressing our real concerns and we just assume that somebody understands what we're talking about. The prophet asked about the future or the true meaning of all this at the end of verse 16. The answer was given was this: 4 kingdoms that will rise from the earth, but the saints of the Most High will receive, which indeed is the summary of all these things as he asked. So our take home here is that we should always be specific when we talk to God. As Jesus said, ask and it shall be given. He even said, which of you, if his son asks for bread, will he give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will he give him a snake? Must be specific. So when the prophet began to be specific, before I go there, let me tell you about the rebellion here. The rebellion was between the kingdom of God and God's act of bestowing complete honor and confidence in his son, instead of including as well as Lucifer in the decisions of God, even though Lucifer is not God. He wanted to be equal. He wanted to be included in the Godhead. This is all there. And the story of redemption, page 17, says, if God had exercised his power to punish this chief rebel, the disinfected angels would not have been manifested. Disinfected. Once he crushes Satan, God would not see you who also are on the side of Lucifer here. Hence, God took another course, for he would manifest distinctly to all the heavenly hosts his justice and his judgment. Just brushing that one off quickly. We are here on the little horn. There is a little horn there. There is this fellow we're talking about. He has got eyes, he has got a mouth, but doesn't have ears. Agezwa. The prophet, when the prophet was specific about his perplexities, he got a precise answer as well. His confusion was on the fourth beast, not on all the beasts. He understood that, but he did not understand this fourth beast, because there is this little horn that is fighting the people of God, and it doesn't see God intervening on behalf of his people and punishing this horn as such, that he is confused, and he hears this horn is talking all nonsense, all blasphemies against my God, and my God simply embarks on the judgment. And he's being interrupted even then, because here comes his son. He's confused. When he addressed his confusion promptly, that is when he got a precise answer. What was the answer? What about the fourth beast? Did he not understand? One, this beast was different from all previous ones. It was terrifying and had iron teeth, bronze claws, crushed its victims and trampled them under his foot. The 10 horns on this beast is told. The little horn that uprooted 3 other horns before it, and then the little horn that was more imposing than all others and had eyes and a mouth, and that spoke pompous words against the Most High, and this horn that waged war against the saints of the Most High and defeated them. He wanted to know about this. And then P.G. Temple says, my friends, Daniel was worried about this little horn because it persecuted God's people for 1,260 days or years. He alleges that Babylon had what was called the mysteries, or the mystery religion. I like that one. That was found in Babylon. Mystery religion. What is that? This is what we would call today mysticism. It started way back in Babylon. So Peter Temple then says, when the Jews were in captivity in Babylon, some of them, they learned of this mystery religion, of this mysticism, and they brought it into their own religion and called it the Kabbalah. They inherited that in Babylon. They took it when they returned. They returned with Kabbalah to Israel, and they practiced mysticism right there. No wonder God had to destroy them, prophet. Father Kaviz then alleges that many organizations today use this mysticism. They use this secret symbolism. What is that? That is masonry. That is witchcraft. Some Jewish societies, Eastern religions, Wicca, Satanists, and the list goes on. And the same is found where? In Catholicism. We think it is this secret symbolism that did war against the people of God and defeated them. Daniel saw this as the little horn. This defeated the saints until the Ancient of Days came and pronounced judgment on their favor or in their favor. Last slide, I will not speak after this, I promise you. We have referred to verse 23 earlier on in this study while dealing with verse 8. So we shall now concentrate on the mouth that spoke great things. Peter Temple again says, the mouth speaking great things, showing that the church would claim infallibility and other rights that belong only to God. Great things. The church would claim a right to be able to translate and to change even God's laws. Big things, big mouth. We think that it also means that it passes laws and legislates against the express commandment of God. Big mouth. This power is said to be different in that this is how it is a religious power ruling by coercing political powers to do its biddings. Once so and so has spoken, the entire world, even our president, is going to jump. We'll only ask in the sky, how high? So, when you compare this little horn to the former pagan kings, you find that the former kings, they just claimed to be gods. You remember even Nebuchadnezzar said, no, this one has the spirit of the gods. And he acknowledged God, the God of Daniel, as above other gods. You remember that. So we think here what is happening. This little horn does not assert to be a god like these other kings asserted. This one, my friend, claims to be God and stays in the temple of God as God or as equal. It calls itself a vicar of God. Temporary defeat will be granted this horn over the saints, but remember, I know the end, and I'm excited about the end. because victory will be given to the saints of the Most High. And this kingdom that has been persecuting them for over 1,260 years will be given to these saints because God has declared so. I rest my case.